off the bat, it's actually a Fredrin in the EXP lane. We haven't seen this for a long time. But in the gold lane, you can see that GEEK SLATE wastes no time at all trying to shut Brands down. Like Mirko mentioned, the Melissa is a very dangerous pick against a team that wants to group up like this. But with two save ultimates, maybe that's exactly what they are trying to do.
I actually don't mind the Paquito being put into the jungle position, right? Because I think face value, Janna QT on the Lancelot versus something like the Fredrin, I feel like Janna has a little bit of an edge in terms of that mobility, but on the bottom side here.
Brands holding on to the Inspire, finally popped it. Beloy to be outplayed there, but the Thorn Rose takes Brands down. It's a 1-for-1 roamer for gold lane. GEEK SLATE will certainly be happy with the first trade going into their hands, but Dreams with a cheeky gold buff steal.
Seeing the gold buff in that situation, interesting for sure, but having a Paquito in the jungle, this is a foreign sight in Season 11. We haven't seen it at all, I believe. And in the hands of Taz, we know this man is a mechanical monster, given the right tools for the situation. And you look at GEEK SLATE, they definitely have a lot of squishy targets available, but I'm curious to see what kind of build will Taz go for here. Usually we see a bit more of a fighter-oriented build, and right there, Dreams just gets forced to use the flicker away from the aggression of GEEK SLATE yet again.
Oh, there's another skirmish though right now as Janna pops into puncture. Psychon still walking Luke down with a taunt as well. Luke gonna be chunked down now with a Razor's Wrath. Luke dodging away and actually outplaying with the final slash. Psychon's taken down by Janna QT as they look to reclaim the position now around the turtle. He's going to be zoned away by Beloy, who's now just opening up the map. Taz walking in on the Paquito jungler. Now it's going to be Luke who jumps in with the resets. That's going to be the Cult Altar placed down. Taz versus Janna, and it's Taz who wins it out. Luke going to be jabbed to death as EVOS Legends equalize in the second minute.
Very unfortunate there. GEEK SLATE were the ones to set up for the turtle first, but EVOS Legends, with how much sustain they were given, addition to the Cult Altar as well, Taz being able to steal that turtle away from GEEK SLATE. And now EVOS, they're looking towards putting more pressure in the bottom side. And we mentioned about GEEK SLATE, right? We mentioned of how they work. First, we need a comfort hero on Beloyski. He needs a really good hero to be able to make those outrageous plays. And second of all, Chidera needs to be able to win that lane. Right now, it's not looking too good.
It may look like a normal Paquito jungle, but this is in fact, I believe, the Paquito jungle tank that I mentioned to Arashi earlier on the day. And we're seeing it instantly here, played against GEEK SLATE, Arashi.
And looking at the win condition for EVOS Legends, with their composition, it seems to be all about outlasting GEEK SLATE. They have a lot of burst damage, and that's how they've been able to abuse it completely. And with that burst damage negated by the Blessing of the Moon Goddess and the Cult Altar, they seem to have a great solution, which is what Mirko thinks in the talent prediction. The only EVOS pick, but look at EVOS getting jumped on right now.
The Brands, oh, that's going to be a lot of damage placed in, but the go away from Brands plus Dreams' Blessing of the Moon Goddess gets them out. A boy and the entire team rotated down below. We'll just take that as a wasted movement on the map. EVOS Legends are outlying and are out-sustaining very well against GEEK.
I mean, that's something that they should have, anticipated, right? I mean, Brands being on the Melissa at level 4 has the go away, so even if they want to go for aggressive plays onto the Melissa, it's a lot harder than they can expect, especially with Beloyski as well. But if the cooldowns are off...
Beloy now, yeah, jumping onto Brands, the High and Dry Emblem, not really dealing damage right there, but it is just all to distract EVOS Legends. They want to clear it up, and that's it.
Wow, GEEK SLATE, they have aggression right here, but EVOS Legends, even though they are being a bit more reactive, they have been in the right place at the right time to negate any kind of playmaking attempt being made by GEEK SLATE. So now they have the prayer to actually go for this turtle. It's uncontested, and right now GEEK SLATE, they must be so confused. They have no idea how to just burst through the team of EVOS Legends. They need to try and get separation here, because if EVOS Legends stick as 5, that's just way too much damage. GEEK SLATE will not be able to secure kills because they do not have a solid source of DPS. Maybe a boy, but we saw that earlier in the first turtle fight. He ran out of mana, and that is just one of the limitations of mages in the early game.
I gotta say, with the draft coming in from GEEK SLATE, the longer this game progresses, the more in danger they are. And now, Janna gonna get caught.
Yeah, even on the Lancelot tank here, doesn't feel like he is going to be able to be that oppressive force in terms of farming, because the Paquito tank with the Demon Slayer is actually out-farming Janna QT. That's one of the strengths for the Lancelot, right? When the Paquito can do the same job, and even with the base damage, deals this much damage, it's a problem for GEEK SLATE. Taz is unkillable, and he does a lot of damage. Janna brought back to the team now, and EVOS are playing the early game really well. Like you said, all they need to do is weather out that early game.
Later, maybe with some more items, Aboy and Kadera can provide a more reliable source of damage, but even then, they are locked in. EVOS Legends, if they just stack the magical defense right here, then technically they are not facing any kind of DPS, right? They're only facing burst damage coming in from Janna, Luke, and Beloyski. So that, in addition to all their spells, is just so difficult, and they know that. That's why they're all sticking together, and they're trying to dictate the pace right here, even though it's only the mid game, but GEEK actually has a bit of a chance here.
Oh no!
Oh, that's the final slash. The Cult Ultra not placed just in time, but the go away is going to be there for Brands with Blessing of the Moon Goddess. Dreams taken very low, but Brands with the Inspire still able to sustain. EVOS Legends only losing one member. Beloy looking to do it for the assassination, but the Muddles will cancel out his invisibility. GEEK SLATE, this is one of their weaknesses as well. They can get kills, they can look for skirmishes, but the siege is just not there. Hijime has walked back in, now having the Cult Ultra. Luke is going to be pinned down under the tier 2. Meanwhile, Psychots in the back finds Beloy. That's a 2 for 0 now, going for to the side of EVOS Legends.
It's not looking good whatsoever here for GEEK SLATE at the moment, as both of the junglers, Janna as well as Taz, they're also still trying to vie for the neutral objective take. But Janna QT versus Taz. Now this is something very interesting, but Taz is still gonna have the upper hand and secure all the neutral objectives actually.
Ooh, Taz still making aggressive maneuvers here. Honestly, the burst from Paquito just comes in way too quick to react to, so EVOS Legends, they have the advantage here. They're trying to push it, and I feel like eventually this is going to end up with GEEK SLATE going for a split push situation here, because there's no way they win in these big skirmishes. They need to find a way to isolate the members and go for those 1v1s and make situations happen where Beloyski actually has pressure, being that invisible threat at all times, because especially right now, the only real target he has is Hijime and Brands, and they are never left alone.
And on that note, right, EVOS Legends with a 2,000 gold lead, and they've actually drafted themselves for that mid towards that late game power spike. And at this point, I would just use the new battle emotes onto GEEK SLATE at the moment, as once again here, EVOS, they're looking to clear that mid side, and it doesn't seem like GEEK SLATE have an answer towards that aggression.
Not at all, not right now. If we take a look at the items though, again, Arashi, this Melissa slowly but surely getting to that power spike. Corrosion, DHS, and look at the gold lead just in the gold lane itself. 1,000 gold lead for Brands.
I do wonder though, for Brands on the Melissa, is he going to opt for some counter to the burst damage available for GEEK SLATE? Because now Chidera has a Clock of Destiny and the Lightning Truncheon combo, and with Beloyski, that's a good source of, are two really good sources of burst damage, that's magical and physical. So if he wants to go greedy in the itemization, it might just be too dangerous, but he goes in aggressive into Beloyski here.
And nothing happens to him in return. There's no retaliation whatsoever for GEEK SLATE at the moment, and maybe that's why he hasn't been building that much of that magic defense. He does have these steel leg plates, right, to be able to, I guess, anticipate the physical damage that could be put onto him by something like the Natalia or even Luke or even Janna in the later stages of the game. But right now, EVOS, they're very comfortable, and honestly, they can play as long as they want. In the late game, who from GEEK SLATE can carry? The problem was that they put Chidera on the Valentina. It's not a good source of DPS. There's burst, but who's going to be able to follow up on the damage once it's been placed?
A big issue right now for GEEK SLATE is also the lack of crowd control, because now you can see that EVOS, they just stay in the front. They are not really scared of getting picked off, and you cannot say the same thing about GEEK SLATE. Right there, a boy has been forced to pop the black shoes already, and with the Lord of Hub HP, EVOS are making the play for this. Beloyski looking for an opportunity here. Will it work out though?
Remember the silence in his kit. That's what he's going to try to utilize here to give Janna QT the edge of that retribution battle. A 50-50 at first, but now Dreams reads it out. Beloy jumps in, forced to dash out, but now Taz jumps in with a punch over to Beloy with a knockout strike as well. The Lord is going to be resetted though. EVOS Legends can look for the reset now as they go back to the waves to set up once again.
Man, with both teams being so intense, so close in the setup, in looking for the right fight like this, I feel like in the end, it's going to come down to the macro gameplay, right? Which team can actually have an advantage pushing the sideways, the ways further away from the objective, and force their opponents to make the first move, to make the first mistake. Because honestly, looking at how they are both setting up, looking for the right engage, not just any engage, it seems like they're evenly matched, which allows the Lord to just be delayed yet again. But of course, on paper, in theory, this really favors EVOS Legends.
Yeah, actually, you're kind of right, though. I mean, 10 minutes in, 11 minutes in, usually we see a lot of turrets already taken down. But up until this point, EVOS Legends, despite their lead, they've only been able to secure that bottom side turret. And GEEK SLATE now, they've actually equalized with that turret in the top side as well by playing that macro game. EVOS Legends, though, they're pulling the trigger. A boy, though, still able to get out.
That's the black shoes, but look at the damage clumping up. The Cult Altar is placed down right now. That's going to be the back line, targeted down, but it is going to be Chidera who finds Brands. Luke will fall as well. Chidera now with the Cult Altar. Hijume is going to be isolated from the team, assassinated by Beloy. EVOS have lost 2 of their members. Hijume with a passive can respawn quickly. Psychos with Flicker John now onto a boy. The damage comes through, but Taz will just jump into the back line. Chidera still able to survive right now. Psychos gets placed very low. Jana picks up the kill. Taz looking for some more base damage as Luke and Chidera has fallen in this team fight. It's all about the sustainability. Hijume has walked back in now with the Shadow Stampede, bringing Beloy back. Dreams trying to deal damage, but he is on an S-Test. He can only heal up. The Thorn Rose and the Blessing, the Moon Goddess. That's one more hit to take Dreams down, but he will still be able to survive. EVOS Legends, despite losing in the trade, they were able to buy enough time to weather out the storm.
The passive from Hijume on the Faramis allows them to really stall a comeback, and yet now the Lord is still not taken, and that's because GEEK SLATE, man, that's a lot of damage, and EVOS Legends did not respect that. They let a boy get the glooms out, just popping left and right, doing a lot of damage, and they need to remember that they are still a composition that groups up together, and they are prone to getting comboed like that. Both Chidera and a boy right here can do an insane amount of damage. And speaking of that macro gameplay, that is a turret falling right now. So GEEK SLATE, they are showing again that they have plans for this mid to late game. EVOS Legends are the one now being reactive. They need to make sure that Dreams as well as Hijume gets put in the right position to try and protect Brands when all the fights, when the fights and the ultimates really get committed to going for it.
Also, to answer your question, Eterna, why does EVOS Legends, why are they finding it difficult to take turrets? GEEK SLATE, they're lacking siege potential, but they have incredible wave clear, and that's the reason they haven't been able to really get any turrets, EVOS Legends. Right here, we're seeing just both teams poking each other down. GEEK SLATE, they need to bait out the Blessing of the Moon Goddess. They need to bait out the go away. Because if this continues the way it is right now, EVOS Legends will be able to out-sustain as Taz jumps into the back with the knockouts right now, knocking Chidera back. Psychos jumping in with the muddles as well. Brands with the go away, but Luke is going to be targeted down with the Cult Altar now. The Vengeance not able to dish out proper damage. Luke flickers back, but it's going to be Brands who follows through now with the Cult Altar as well. Plays down by Hijume. Jana with Retribution. He doesn't find it. It's Taz who takes it, and Luke and Jana have fallen. Beloy comes in, finding the marksman, but will lose his life in the process. It's a 3-4-1, making a 4-for-1 with the Lord going to the hands of EVOS.
No, man. EVOS Legends now, they are going to start using that pressure to be able to get that mid side as well. Look at the damage Taz gets on it to a boy as well, forcing the Black Shoes once again, even before anything happens, even before the team fight proceeds itself.
Oh, you see the damage being dealt by a boy and Chidera. And honestly, it's so unfortunate for GEEK SLATE. They initially had the advantage. They were able to get a turret in the top side, but afterwards, they just allowed the wave to build up for too long. And after that fight, after the initial fight that went even, they didn't spend some time to try and control the wave. And like we mentioned, the better macro game does win, and they just tunneled way too long and way too hard onto the Lord. Now with the first Lord in the hands of EVOS, they're going to go for it, try and get as much advantage as possible against this early game composition.
Oh man, look at Taz. Even the damage coming in from Chidera and a boy in a 2v1. He's not scared, but Beloyski, he's looking for a flank. He gets caught out though.
With his mobility, he will still be safe though. He can still get out, but Arashi, this boxer is a different one from what we've seen before. The knockout artist, the one-shot combo, no longer. He's a point master.
He's just going for all the combos, man. It's not burst damage, but you leave him there long enough, he will take your whole team out. And considering that the fact that he has a full tank built with a Sky Guardian helmet and no mana cost, he can stay on the field indefinitely and still always be present even though he gets chunked down low. It's a perfect plan for a perfect Paquito pick right here. But Beloyski going for a split push play right here, getting a turret for GEEK SLATE.
Jana in the flanks, only against Psychos. Hijume finds a massive Shadow Stampede as Brands is able to put the muddles down, but GEEK SLATE can still disengage. Meanwhile, top side, look at Beloy being an absolute nuisance right now, putting so much pressure down, but Taz will be able to answer it. Now, with some damage, he can go for the gap closers. Beloy jumps into the minions right now, but Beloy might just be caught out. Has the smoke screen, but Psychots will flicker forward to seal the deal. That's the roamer taken down. Luckily for GEEK SLATE, the objective hasn't spawned in.
Honestly, that's the only thing that GEEK SLATE can try to do right now. Sure, Beloyski gets taken down, but the impact that it has on EVOS Legends, right? Slowly but surely, they're able to get the turrets away, and at some point, maybe they can go for a split push type of strategy that we've seen before, especially when the Lord dances start happening. But with the 1,300 gold lead, which is not too much, honestly. What are the items looking like?
Well, Taz has completed his Twilight armor, so even more damage, even more of a nuisance. If you look at the like a boy and Chidera, the main damage dealers relied on by GEEK SLATE, there is a necklace of Durance being built right there, so trying to limit, of course, the healing from the blessing of the Moon Goddess. We haven't seen a need for that in recent times, but it's a great itemization from a boy. Now the question is, if he wants to try and output more damage, he needs more penetration, so the Divine Glaive needs to be completed before they can even be a real threat and have enough damage to try and bait out his ultimates before the decisive moment. But Beloyski is split pushing yet again.
The muddles plays down a boy, now with black shoes, but will just be caught in the muddles! Perfectly placed to actually bait out that black shoes. Now Janna, Luke, and Chidera are going to be zoned away as Janna jumps into the back line with the, oh my god, the final slash! Finding the long press is being engaged on. The Vengeance dealing damage as Psychots is able to taunt 2 members up. The AoE is too much for EVOS. Psychots still trying to buy the time, jumping into the taunt. Taz, the only member left alone. Luke, Chidera, and Beloy trying to assassinate a lone boxer. He dodges away from the final slash, but it's a maniac for Beloyski. EVOS Legends have lost the trade once again, but they have baited so much time, wasted so much of GEEK SLATE's time that GEEK cannot even go for the Enhanced Lord.
Wow, but Beloyski, because in that setup, honestly, I thought EVOS Legends had the better setup for the Lord, but the way that Beloyski was able to play, he looked for a pick on to Brands, and it was quickly followed up by Janna QT despite Brands opening up his go away. And honestly, that entire situation was worth it for GEEK SLATE in my opinion.
Definitely, and now another fight breaks through. Seems like Luke is trying to zone everyone away, but that's going to be ultimates burnt out. Hijime already using the Cult Altar, but look at Beloy, already insanely quick adjustments. Before, they didn't do much after the fight, but now they immediately send for a split push, and now they have the macro advantage. They're going for the Lord.
Look at Beloy. This can make it or break it. He jumps out to Braz, but Braz is able to put in the go away. Oh! Not for long, though, as a boy dishes out the damage for Beloy to assassinate the main member from EVOS Legends. Taz now against the world, 1v4, gonna be chain CC'd and melted down. Luke has found another, and just like that, it's an Evolved Lord to the hands of GEEK SLATE.
This was looking so bleak for GEEK SLATE. When we think that with the Natalia being put in the hands of Beloyski, it falls off into the late game. That is the wrongest. Is that a word? The wrongest
assumption?
It's just the wrongest statement ever. Right? Beloyski, he's always been able to make the Natalia relevant even in the late game. It doesn't fall off. It still has an impact because he's so good at that macro play. And you could see EVOS Legends, they had the gold lead. It's now been completely turned around with 5,000 for GEEK as they're looking for a siege into EVOS Legends base.
Psychots now jumping in, trying to zone a boy away as he is going to be able to push the damage down. Taz with a knockout strike. That's the Appraiser's Wrath as well. Chidera zoning Psychots as he is going to be forced back away. The Evolved Lord has marched down all the way to the base. The Cult Altar baited out by Beloy. Hijime right now has been baited out twice. EVOS Legends losing their base towards the final slash, connecting Brands in the midst of it all. Still able to sustain with the Haas Claws, but Beloy will go for the base right now as he's able to end the game to secure game number 1 for GEEK SLATE.
Incredible play by Beloyski. You know, in that kind of situation, you would expect Natalia to go once again for Bronze, but no. He goes straight in for the base, and he is able to construct a win for GEEK SLATE.